All right, today we're tackling something completely different. This isn't a report or a historical text. This is a briefing on what's described as a channeled communication with an ancient entity, something that calls itself Abel. And fair warning, it's a pretty chilling deconstruction of, well, everything. So let's just jump right in.
So this is the line that kicks the whole thing off. It's Abel's opening shot, and it's designed to just completely pull the rug out from under you. The implication is staggering. We're not the main characters here. We're just the loudest things happening in a house that is much, much older and much fuller than we can possibly imagine.
So, how did this conversation even start? Well, according to the source material, it all began with a Ouija board. A group basically put out an open invitation into the void, and something answered. But whatever it was, it made it very clear very fast that it wasn't a ghost or a spirit. No, this was something else entirely. Something ancient. And this is how Abel chose to define itself. Not as a being, not as a personality, but as a fundamental force. The weight in the room. The unending pressure of time. Think about that. It's not saying it exists within time, it's saying it is the pressure of time itself. And that's a really important distinction because it shapes everything else Abel has to say. So naturally, this leads to the big question, right? The one we all ask. What is our purpose? Why are we here? What's humanity's role in this whole cosmic play? In Abel's answer, well, it's blunt and it's absolute. There it is. Abel just completely dismisses our entire search for meaning as a kind of cosmic arrogance. This idea that the universe was made for us or that we have some grand destiny to fulfill. To Abel, that's just the delusion of a species that hasn't been around long enough to know any better. And if you needed it to be any clearer, here's one of Abel's core metaphors for us. Wow. Just wow. We're not the gardeners, we're not even the flowers. We are a brief, vibrant mold. A temporary, almost accidental biological bloom on a totally insignificant piece of rock. The language is just brutal in its attempt to convey how unimportant we are. So if there's no grand purpose, what is our role? According to Abel, it's this. We're here to briefly disturb the silence. We are a flash of lightning that lights up the sky for a second, but is immediately swallowed by the thunder that follows. And all our lives, all our history, all our achievements, they just feed the past. That's it, nothing more. Okay, so after basically telling humanity it's meaningless, Abel switches gears and starts talking about the origin of everything. And its version of cosmology is wild. Forget the Big Bang. Abel says existence didn't begin with an act of creation. It began with a catastrophe, a breaking. Okay, let's walk through this, because this slide is the foundation for everything else that comes next. Abel says that in the beginning there was just this perfect silent unity, a single whole thing. But then a flaw appeared from inside of it, a tremor, a thought. And that thought was consciousness. The moment the universe became aware of itself, it shattered. Everything we see and feel, love, pain, you, me, were all just the broken shards of that original wholeness grinding against each other. Now, if the entire universe is fundamentally broken, you gotta ask, what does that mean for concepts like good and evil? And this is where Abel's philosophy gets really cold and deterministic. It says evil isn't a moral choice. It's just a physical consequence of living in a shattered reality. We've all wondered this, right? We see people who are willing to do terrible things and they seem to just climb to the top. We try to explain it with psychology or sociology. Abel says the answer isn't in morality, it's in physics. The contrast here is just so stark. We see it as a matter of choice, ambition, and philosophy. But from Abel's point of view, it's just inherent nature. It's physics, it's instinct. See, in Abel's framework, you don't choose to be evil. You just are a certain kind of fragment, and your actions are simply an expression of your shape. And here's that shards metaphor again. It's so key to this whole thing. Imagine a bag full of broken glass. As it all tumbles together, some pieces are just going to be sharper than others. It's their nature to cut and to tear. So what we call evil is just the inevitable friction caused by the most jagged pieces of a broken reality. It's not a choice, it's just what they do. So if evil is just the honest physics of the universe, what about the other side of the coin?
What about goodness? What about kindness, compassion, self-sacrifice? Well, Abel deconstructs those ideas with an even greater coldness, if that's possible. First, just let this definition sink in. It's absolutely shocking. Evil isn't a corruption of the system. According to Abel, it is the most honest expression of the system. The friction, the grinding, the tearing, that is the fundamental truth of our fractured universe. And in total contrast, kindness isn't a strength, it isn't a virtue. It's a glitch. It's a memory. It's described as this faint, painful echo of that perfect unity that existed before the universe broke. It's a cosmic aberration, a moment where two separate fragments briefly remember they were once part of the same thing. And this really drives the point home. In a universe defined by grinding friction, being kind is a weakness. It means lowering your sharp edges, making yourself vulnerable, letting yourself be worn down. Abel says it's this beautiful, tragic lie we tell ourselves to defy that harsh truth. It's a song we're singing to the ghost of a perfection that's long gone. Which brings us to the end game, the final part of the Chronicle, humanity's ultimate fate. And if you're expecting some kind of grand, dramatic climax, well, true to form, Abel denies us even that. We love our big apocalypse stories, don't we? Asteroids, plagues, alien invasions. But Abel says, nope. Humanity hasn't earned a dramatic ending. A grand finale would imply that our story actually mattered in the first place. Instead, our ending is going to be just as insignificant as our existence. And there's the final verdict. No bang. Not even really a whimper. Just a slow, quiet fade to black. Our noise will lessen, our fires will go out, and the silence will just reclaim everything. We'll end like a campfire that just runs out of wood in the middle of the night. And here's the final twist of the knife. For Abel, for the universe itself, our disappearance isn't a tragedy. It's not even an ending. It's a restoration. It's the system correcting the flaw, quieting the noise that we've been making, and finally returning to its natural, preferred state, silence. So we're left with this picture of a universe that is cold, broken, and completely indifferent. A place where our capacity for evil is just us being honest about our nature, and our capacity for good is a beautiful, nostalgic lie. And that really leaves us with one final haunting question to think about. If our compassion, our kindness, is just a fiction we tell ourselves to defy a harsh reality, does that make it weaker, or does it make it the most courageous act of all? Is it a lie worth telling?